Let's talk about the audiophile Matrix. So I hope everyone remembers the Matrix movie, and it became so popular because in every area of life there's a matrix, which is the dream of the society, how we imagine it, and it includes all of the aspirations, all of the illusions, all of the magic of that area of life. And this movie is about what can you do about it. Can you go surfing deep below the surface of this magic world, and then you can affect substantial changes in your life in a certain area, or you just continue to live in the matrix and not even being conscious that there is a matrix that exists. So right now I'm going to give you the matrix of the audiophile world, and then it will be your choice to take the red pill or take the blue pill. It will be up to you, Neo. So here we go. Now the choice is, like, if you take the blue pill and continue back to sleep, then your world is about having like $500,000 $1 million gigantic solid state amps, and believing that that's the ultimate in audio, and your dream is never going to come true unless you own one of those creations. And the red pill, waking up to reality, is that you can do something about it and how to achieve your dream. And here the matrix is that the audiophile world has a collective dream about what perfect sound is, and waking up from that matrix is there is your dream. What do you want? And that the truth, a harsh truth, is that the collective dream and your dream is not the same. So the sooner you wake up to this reality, the sooner you can do something about it to make sure that your dream comes true. So now when we live in the audiophile matrix, this is our perfect happiness forever picture, is that you are on your sofa, drinking beer away, smoking a cigar, audio magazines all over, and you do nothing proactively. You are home and enjoying the sound, enjoying music, and to really do that, to get the most out of it, we need $1 million, and to get that dream equipment, that you can fulfill this type of lifestyle to the max. So that's when you look at the YouTube channels, you look at the magazines, the reviews, all of them tell you that those $1 million systems can do something that nothing else can. And basically, when we are binging on reviews, we are looking for the opportunity to get that $1 million piece of equipment at a steal price. There must be someone who is making that exact same sound quality for $200 or $2,000 or something like that, something that you can afford. And then that's part of the dream. So this dream for society is really about us making somehow $1 million. It falls in your lap, maybe falls on your head, I don't know what. And then because you are so smart, you have watched hundreds of reviews. Now you are so smart that you can, for $1 million, you can get a $10 million system. And because of these reviews, you become even smarter. So you can get that $1 million system for half price, because you are not buying it from a store, you are buying it online, it arrives on your doorstep, it assembles itself perfectly magically, We don't know how yet, but it happens. And then you just plug and play, push a button, and happiness forever from then on. And that's the perfect audiophile matrix. And there's a B clause to that matrix. If that's not happening, then just troll the forums, become the snake oil expert, and that's just as fulfilling as enjoying that $1 million system. So these two people who are enjoying their $1 million dream and troll the forums are exact same people, just one who got the money and the one who doesn't. But if you take away the money, the two are the same. So is there an escape from this reality? Yes, there is. Then you just learn how to do something for yourself. Just be proactive about it. Learn a new skill. Just go off the beaten path. If everyone sticks to the beaten path, we learn nothing new. You only get something that is worthwhile, that is substantial to you, is if you take the initiative. If you don't take the initiative, you are just a copycat, then you will stay a copycat. You have to get off your couch, put the work in, and advance to the next step. And here, the problem is that, okay, one way to advance would be to learn skills. How to, build your own amplifier. Find out that things can be built. There are lots of communities, forums online who are really active in doing their own stuff, modifying gear, even like designing new stuff from scratch. And it works for thousands and thousands of people worldwide. There's a gigantic community of builders out there. And how people react to that is that, okay, they must be geniuses, but maybe I'm not that skilled. You need special skills for that. You need to be an electric engineer or masters in electronics or something like that. And if I don't have that, I will just hurt myself. Because even if you look at solid state amplifiers, they do not have high voltages, but those big capacitors store quite a bit of current, and they can give you a really nasty shock. And when you think about tube amplifiers, like 2, 3, 4, 500 volts, that's we are talking about lethal voltages, and that's really scary. And I really wanted, I was postponing to get into DIY because of that, I don't want to accidentally kill myself. Who wants that? Just shell out the money, buy the product, plug it in, listen to it. There's no danger in it. However, I tell you there's a danger in it. It's that you are getting someone else's dream and someone else's sound, not the sound that you want. When you build it for yourself, you can modify it, change it until you get what you want exactly. And my wake-up call for that came when at one of the audio club meetings, Ted brought in an amp. Actually, Ted's son brought in an amp that his sons built. And that was a tube amplifier, and there were like hundreds of volts in it, lethal voltage. And there are these two high school kids who built a tube amp for a high school project. And that was like my eyes popping up. What? If high school kids can build a tube amp, then what's holding me back? That's ridiculous. So, and also that amp sounded exceedingly good. And did it sound like $1 million amp? No, it did not. But it easily bested a lot of $2,000 amplifiers. And that was the first project on a $200 or maybe even less $200 budget or $100 budget. So it was like a really a no-brainer thing to step in those shoes and try it out. And since then I'm since I have been building audio and I have tons of friends who build their amps, there was zero fatalities and zero accidents where anyone was injured permanently or did something to them because of those voltages involved. No, if you learn how to do things properly, it's safe. If it wasn't safe, there wouldn't be people doing it. Maybe they would, and they would win Darwin prizes, but this is not a Darwin prize field. So that, to tie back to that, it's really something important that if you build an amp yourself, it will be competitive with the amps that you can buy for much more money than what you invest into building the project. And partially that's because most of the equipment cost that you buy is not the parts. And people are often, when they learn it, that maybe they buy an amp for $500 and the parts cost in it is just maybe like $70 parts and $50 for the chassis, and then the rest is, it goes to the company, goes to the dealer, and they are outraged that this is just like a less than $150 amp, why I'm paying $500 for that. It's because you are paying for the hard labor, the brain work of those people who had to develop it, who had to buy the tools to put it together, who had to pay the salary of those people who built it. And it's like a lot of people involved, a lot of things involved when you do something not at a builder level. I built something for fun for myself, but you make it to sustain a living and sustain a company. There's tremendous added cost involved that make that piece of equipment much more expensive than what it is. And when you, for example, think about loudspeakers, then the parts cost in a loudspeaker is between 10 to 30%. So just think about that. If you are buying a $30,000 speaker, then the parts cost in it was somewhere between $1,000 to $3,000. And that's why speakers cost so much, because the companies have to charge this much money for it, because otherwise they would go bankrupt. They couldn't make a living of it. But that gives you the power as a DIYer that if you put in $3,000 into the parts cost and build your speakers, you will get a pair of loudspeakers that's as good as those that you would buy for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. So I hope that's a real eye-opener for everyone, that you can get to audio nirvana if you put down your donkey to it. So another thing I want to say, that if you are scared or too lazy to get down to it, to learn a new skill and to build a loudspeaker or build an amplifier or maybe build your own deck, whatever you want to do, because you think it's just too much time and I'm just too busy brewing my coffee or chatting up girls or whatnot, then I tell you this sobering truth: if you have that attitude towards life, then you do not take it what it takes to become a self-made man, to become a millionaire. Then with this sort of attitude, you are not going to make any money either. So so you won't have the skills, you won't have the money, so it means you are not reaching your audio holy grail either. And you just have to do something about it. I hope you realize, or it's not going to happen. And so one road is after you've taken the pill to wake up, and then one road is to dedicate yourself to learn audio skills, like how maybe you think you have a great amp and just need a great loudspeaker. Just go into it. how to do that. And I would say that's the best starting point to start your getting your feet wet, because in one way that's probably the least scary skill to start up with, because there are no lethal voltages in a loudspeaker. All you have to do is basically get speaker cones, or maybe just a speaker cone, a single one per channel. If you go for a single speaker full range drivers, they're so-called full range drivers, and you just need a little woodworking skills, how to make a cabinet. And if you are going for full range drivers, you don't even need to build a crossover. You just build a box of a certain shape, certain size, and you stuck a driver in it, and then you put 2 binding posts in the end and hook up the binding post to the wire terminals, and that's it. That's how I started. That's how I made my first pair of speakers, and it just totally blew me away. It was just shocking how much that elevated the sound quality of the system. And I think right now, when you look at YouTube and reports, if you dig into it, you can find DIY equipment, DIY speakers, amps, etc. But what you don't find is that how those measure up to commercial products. Because of course, if someone built speakers for himself or built a pair of amps, they will be really happy about it. And for a skeptic observer, everyone would think, when you think about it and really thoroughly, that guy is excited about it because he built it. So his judgment is clouded. So he thinks it sounds so good because he put in all of the work, and either he's blind to the truth, or he's just too ashamed to admit it, that he put together a piece of CRAP and just wants to show off, hey, I have this and that, look at. But actually, I have experience with both of these gears. I have seen like a tremendous amount of equipment that people has built, and I have seen a lot of equipment that companies put together. And I'm gonna add something to all of this, is that when you see a commercial product, that at one point was a DIY product. And some of those people who build stuff for themselves, they get so excited about it that they want it to become their life purpose. And that's how a lot of audio companies are born. But that doesn't mean that they are the only ones who build successful gear, successful amps or speakers or whatnot. There are a lot of others who make excellent things, but they decide that they don't want to go into audio. Maybe they have a daytime job and they love what they do, or something like that, like my case. I also have a daytime job. I'm a cancer researcher and I love what I do. I believe in it. And I also seen how the audio world works, and it's really hard to get in it as a manufacturer. And based on my location, because I'm on an island, I'm not on the mainland US, that's pretty much the death spell for me. If I want to make a product, I have to factor in the shipping from Honolulu to anywhere in the world, and that's just pretty much killing all the profit margin in it. Unless I want to mark it up in the prices, and then that's it. Today, people want the best bargain, they want deals. If it costs just this tiny bit more than absolutely necessary, the least amount that your competitors have, then you go out of business. You can't make it. But that doesn't exclude you as to build things for yourself. So I can build whatever I want for myself. There's no market demand. There's no customer basis to limit me to do what I want to do. And that's the other thing. If you are an audio manufacturer, you cannot just build anything. You have to build something that has commercial appeal. So you cannot just build the best amp because that you know it's the best, because it's going to jack up the prices and put it, or maybe do something. Maybe it will be too heavy or too big, and then there will be no consumer appeal for that. Like, for example, my speakers, they are just too big to be successful for marketing. And that's why today we have these tiny speakers, and even what we consider as big loudspeakers, they are still wimpy. They are like babies compared to real loudspeakers. In my experience, and basically everyone who's been into audio at least 20 years, everyone knows that serious speakers begin at 200 liter free air volume. That's like a 9 cubic feet plus free air volume. That's where the audio nirvana loudspeakers begin. In the world, which is like, we are talking like 100 liter, like a 3 cubic feet and below, that sort of thing, it's you get good stuff, but you are really far away from achieving your dreams. So that's one way, and it's doable. I have tons of friends, and a lot of us, just none of us thought that we will ever do something like this. But then we had an experience, witness that how good things can be when you do it yourself, that it's more than competitive with commercial products that you can buy. And it's not just that it's competitive or not, but you also have the added benefit that you achieved something yourself, and then you can modify it as much as you want. When you have a commercial amplifier, you are scared to touch it because it will void the warranty and it will destroy the resale value of the product. So if you have like a $3,000 amplifier, who would touch it or open up the chassis? Then it would turn it into a few hundred pieces worth of scrap. Even if you do not damage it, try to sell an amplifier that was modified. Unless there's a guy who's like you, likes to modify stuff and understands what you have done, and they are willing to pay the price for it. But that's extremely rare. In the vast majority of cases, you have ruined an investment at the moment you lift off the chassis. And that kind of like forces you into a wheelchair situation, that you cannot get out of the wheelchair, and you are forced to be limited. And most of the commercial products are like that, or I would say all of them. To get the maximum out of them, you really have to modify every single piece of gear, and then they will start to soar. Until then, they just have a limited ability to perform and give you what you want. The other option, other road, after you have taken the pill, is to acquire a skill set that will make you earn that money, that you can buy higher grade of audio equipment. Maybe you heard a big Jadi system that just totally took you away, or an audio note or something else, whatnot. And you know that there's like, I need $100,000, and acquire the skills, put in certain number of years, hard work, buy it, and you are happy. That's also a viable choice. But even with that choice, if you know how to modify stuff, how to build stuff, you can take that $100,000 system and elevate it to a level that it compares to a $200,000, $300,000 system. Or not even talking about money, just bringing it closer to your dream, to your reality, what you want to hear from it. And the road C, there is no third road. There is no road C. There's just road A or road B to get to audio heaven. And you will not get there if you get stuck at the level of binging on audio reviews and looking for deals. That will get you nowhere. And if you think that there is a certain amount of money that will get you what you want, and you are comfy with your current lifestyle, and in a few years you will get that money, but now you are far away from achieving it, then this is what I have to say, that tough luck with that, because the state of the art is getting more and more expensive year by year, and the amount that people can afford for the equipment is not getting any more. I would say it's getting less every year. It's kind of seems that it's average in the US. I would say like people can afford maybe $10,000 for a stereo if they really put together their money for it and save for it. And that's been the same situation 20 years ago. But now it's much worse than that, because that includes those few people who can now afford the $1 million systems, but those who cannot, like the middle range system, like a $20,000 to $50,000 system, those who can afford those, the number of those dropped tremendously. There's the number of those people who can afford an introductory level system, just a few $1,000s. It's steady, and I might say even more than used to be. The mid-level system, which is really the bread and butter of audio, that's where good sound lives. And in the $1 million system, a lot of that is just like a glorified dream. And if you take 10 $50,000 systems and 10 $1 million systems, out of the 10 50K system, you will find probably 8 that sounds great, and out of the $10 million system, you will find 1 or 2 that sounds great. So if you go like at the highest highs in the price, then most of it is just about design and show. So it's just creating that looks really alienish or outlandish or wow, but there the main consideration is how to make something that you can sell for the greatest amount of money, what's something most outrageous. And it can coincide with good sound, but most of the time it's I wouldn't even say that it's bad sounding, but I can put together like 10 different systems that cost 30 times less, which sound 10 times better than that. And when you look at it, in the year 2000, a $50,000 system was considered state of the art, and people could on average afford maybe 10,000 if they put together all their savings for it. So it was still not for everyone, but it was not a far cry. So for example, if you are a school teacher or do something, and then you retire and you work up yourself to do it, you do not have to pay for your kids' college anymore, then in a couple years you can save up for your dream system, and you can enjoy it in your retired years. In 2010, the same scenario became a little bit more difficult to achieve. Then a state-of-the-art was about $100,000, it doubled, but still what you could afford did not up that much. So if you retire at that time and started saving for your stereo, you couldn't buy the state-of-the-art anymore. It was out of your reach. And now in 2020, we still have the same money situation, but we are in the world of $1 million+ systems, which is just not a reality anymore. So, and it's getting further and further away. So as time goes by, it's just we will see more and more this trend. So if you just go with the current hype or current trend, you will get lost more and more, and you will be more and more handicapped. And also, let's look at where the current trend is going on. So the state of the art today, which I call the hype, because it is the hype. That's what everyone wants. That's where the industry is moving towards, is high resolution sound. Everyone wants super high res. It's like looking at a fly through a magnifier. And you can see like the detail level is just astounding, the colors popping, whatnot, and that's the sonic equivalent of what you see here. But the problem is that because the state of the art is focusing so much on detail level and resolution, that it's unhinging the balance of resolution and tonality. So it's the same thing with microscope. If you start looking at something through a microscope, then your field of vision disappears. And then you are not watching the fly anymore, but you're studying an aspect of the fly. And you do not see the fly as an organism that's part of the world around it, what that fly is doing about, but you start to study its micro features. And you can tell that, oh, it has like 15 hairs at the top of its head, but come on, when you see a fly flying around, that's the last thing you think about, that it has some fine hairs at the top of its head. And it's the same thing with music too, that when you listen to music with extremely high resolution systems, then you start to look for cues and look for signals in the music that you do not when you listen to live music. So with the current hype, current state of the art and future state of the art, you are moving to a reality that takes you further and further away from music. So if you got into audio because you love music, then going with state of the art and $1 million systems will not get you connected to music. And that's the end station. You are going to get far away from music. You will get close to and closer to getting aspects of sound and living in an artificial world, in a created illusion, which is really enticing and really truly something special, and we cannot take away its value. For some people, that's what they want, and that's their dream, and they express it, and it's fine. But I noticed that most people do not want that. They want to connect to music, and through that path you won't be able to achieve that. But when you jump in the matrix of audio, in the beginning, in the entry level, the entry level products now are much better than they were 20 years ago. So don't worry about buying that shit or you know, like a $500 phono stage or something like that, because they will be much better than they used to be 20 years ago. But as you start climbing up, after a few $1,000 per equipment price point, you are getting into a sketchy land where it's really taking you away from a musical experience and bringing you into an artificial world of sound. And if you want to listen to music and, for example, listen to violin, because it also depends on what sort of music. If it's like electronic music, something that never existed outside of the recorded space, you'll be probably fine with a $1 million system. But if it's about something like a violin or a sitar, then you need to go through your own path to really explore it and get the best out of it. Because our trend, the hype, it goes towards over controlling the sound and making it more and more mechanical. It seems perfect at the first time you hear it, and your brain will recognize no faults with it. But if you continue for years and years, you will realize to pick up on those signals, that what are those distortions that are introduced to the sound, what are those processes that create that perfect mechanical sound. And once you realize that, then you will start to crave some reality. So I hope this really helped everyone to just choose the right pill and not keep on slumbering on the sofa. And please like and subscribe so others can like and subscribe. Bye bye.